Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders. Oh, to be accurate, the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, isn't it? Yeah.
Again, like playing Fixing a Hole off Sgt. Pepper, one you don't hear that often, I think. Dawn in Scarborough says that's her favourite album. Oh, Hunky Dory, beg your pardon, she says. Special shout-out to Record Revivals in Scarborough. Sarah in Derby wants to wish husband Gary a happy lockdown 54th birthday. Andy Moran in Salford, remembering Robinson's records on Blackfriars Bridge in Manchester. And Donna Reese would like to give a shout-out to the wonderful Gatefield Sounds in Whitstable. She says John, who runs the place, is brilliant.
Matt Johnson is joining us. Hello, Matt.
Hello, how are you?
We're good,
right.
and we might ask you about some of your favourite record shops in a moment, but let's tell us firstly, Matt, about that we're going to play a tune, Michael, I Want to Be You, which will now, I guess, be released physically later in the year, will it?
Yes, I mean, we're in contact. It was supposed to be released today as part of Record Store Day. As we all know, that's been delayed, so we're in close contact with them. There's initial rescheduled date, which I believe was June 20th, but obviously everybody's keeping a close eye on what's going to happen, but we're all trying to work together to continue to support our wonderful record shops.
Tell us a little bit about this track that we're going to hear, because there's a couple of interesting things. It's from a forthcoming feature film.
Yes, that's right. For my younger brother's new film, Muscle, which premiered at the London Film Festival at the end of last year. It's been picking up terrific reviews, and this is, I think, about the fourth film, the third feature that I've scored for him, but I've done a couple of shorts as well.
Right.
And this film, this song features at the end titles.
Okay.
But it's a terrific film, very dark-humoured, shot in black and white and set in Newcastle.
And tell us about the Omnichord. You've revisited the Omnichord.
Yes. Now, I first bought an Omnichord, would have been back in 1982, something like that, when they first came out. Little Japanese electronic instrument developed by Suzuki. And in fact, I wrote This Is the Day on it, I wrote Perfect on it, I wrote Nature of Virtue. But so this is the first song that I'd written on it since This Is the Day, and I think people will recognise it as a similar...
Yeah. Is it like an auto harp? You press a button and it gives you a chord?
Yes, it's similar to an auto harp, but this is electronic. Whereas I do have auto harps, you're strumming them. But yes, so it's a lovely, easy little instrument to play, and you have the chords laid out on these buttons, and you have a little part that you strum that gives it a lovely harp tinkling effect. But I'm very fond of it, and it had been in one of my lockups for years and years, and I got it out, got it serviced, and it really brought back a lot of memories for me as well, listening to the sound of it.
Well, let's hear it now on I Want to Be You, the. I Want to Be You, the will be released later in the year physically for the rescheduled Record Store Day, and it's also be on the end titles of the new film Muscle. Matt is with us now.
It's got a bit of a Prince way about it, that, with To and Be You, hasn't it, Matt?
Oh, it does, yeah.
So, Matt, where was, growing up, did you have a record shop that you frequented, that you hung out in?
Yes, I did. I spent the first time, the time I really got addicted to buying singles, it would have been when I was in my early teens, and for a period we lived in a place called Ongar in Essex, which used to be at the end of the Central line, but then they closed down the station, and I think Epping's the end of the Central line. Right. But it was a place. It was called Toy Fair, and it was actually a toy shop.
Wow. But
at the back, it had a little record department. And my older brother Andrew, and I were absolutely addicted. And I'm ashamed to say, I've mentioned it in one of the books that came out, the biography, that we used to pinch money out the blind box out the pub that we lived in. We were so addicted to records, we just couldn't stop. And we'd be down there every Saturday morning and just buying vinyl. And the other interesting thing was living above the pub. On a Friday and Saturday night, our parents would be down working in the pub, but my two brothers, Gerard wasn't born, I think, at that point, but Andrew and Eugene and me, we had tennis rackets. We would put on and Mum used to have these sort of wigs and weird platform shoes. We'd put those on, put red lights on, and we had an old gramophone player, and we would just play our 7-inches for like have these parties for about 2 or 3 hours.
What would be some of the tunes you would play? Can you remember some of the tracks?
Yeah, well, there would have been a lot of T-Rex and Slade.
Yeah.
Dare I say, you're not allowed to play it anymore, are you? Gary Glitter,
Yeah.
Rock and Roll Parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Fantastic record.
Great record.
They were great. Sweet, there would have been Hawkwind, there were so many great, Alice Cooper, there was terrific
Sound great.
singles in those days. It was absolutely fantastic.
And so do you retain an affection for Record Shop? Because, I mean, this is the first single that have released since 2017, We Can't Stop What's Coming, which itself was released for a Record Store Day.
Yes, it was. I really like Record Store. I think it's a terrific idea, and it's wonderful that it's taken root so strongly to support these small shops, and it's so unfortunate this year. I mean, every industry has been heavily hit, and then, of course, a lot of these shops are really hanging on by their fingernails. And so, hopefully, I think if people can buy a mail order and support them in that way, that will help. But it's certainly had a devastating time on the economy. But I suppose we have to be positive.
Yeah.
And lockdown has brought, it's created some interesting situations. Really, it's made people reflect upon their lives in different ways, and paradoxically. People are in some ways more social now. They're communicating more with each other, even if it's virtually or via Zoom or telephone. So there's some interesting positives out of the situation.
There have indeed. We'll talk to you, Matt, when the record actually appears physically. But before that, and to conclude here, you've chosen a Marlena Shaw track for us, a great track, California Soul, as a recommendation. Do you remember, when did this come into your life?
Oh, years ago. It's one of those tracks that, and there were various versions of California Soul. I think Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell, Fifth Dimension. I think the original one was by a band called The Messengers. But her version is head and shoulders above everybody else's. And it's one of those tracks when I have parties around my place. It could be a party with a lot of people. It could be a party just by myself or my immediate family. You just have a night playing music and enjoying yourself. And it's one of those songs that it's so uplifting. And as I'm looking out the window today, we've had beautiful weather, haven't we? You're in London. I don't know what...
You're on the South Bank, aren't you?
No, in the east, just east of the city.
Okay, right.
So I'm right in the heart of the city. And it's quite strange because it's very deserted, and it's like being in a dystopian sci-fi film from the 70s, which I like. It's an altered state. I like altered states, and this is one you don't need without chemical, or you're experiencing without chemicals. Anyway, so it's grey today, but I thought... what would be a very uplifting track to play for your listeners today? And this is one of those songs that always, whatever time of the day, it's normally very late at night I listen to this, but I find it very, very uplifting. Could I also mention, actually, that although the single's been delayed, I do have a new album coming out on May the 1st.
Okay.
But it's an album I made when I was 16 years old.
Is this the Lost Cassette album?
Yes, it's called See Without Being Seen. And I finally found the tapes and remastered it. And we've the release of this was delayed, but now we're able to go ahead for May Day.
Great.
Which I'm quite pleased about because people have pre-ordered it, but we couldn't get it out. And my sister that runs my office, Gillian, is managing to pull it all together.
Great.
And get the CD out. So hopefully that will give people something to listen to during lockdown.
Great.
And are you guys doing well during lockdown?
All good. Yeah, all good here. Key
We're all
workers.
right. We key work. We've got a big studio, so we can social distance while we're doing the show live. But yeah,
and
we
good
do
stuff.
We do love coming in and doing it, and so, taking people's minds off stuff for a bit.
Yeah. I think something positive could come out of this, hopefully.
Great. Oh, well, we'll talk to you later in the year, Matt, and thanks for taking the time to do this.
Yes, great to talk to you guys. Stay
Cheers,
healthy.
Matt. Yeah, and
You
you.
do. Stay safe.
Stay
Cheers.
vigilant.
Here's
Take care.
Marlena Shaw.